Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Lucy van der Tas and I'm the Head of Talent Acquisition at ESA. This week is our first ESA Careers Week and we're sharing insights into the various aspects of working at ESA. I'd like to welcome you today to today's session, which is the third in our series this week, where we will look at what goes on at ESA before we actually start working on a specific mission. We will touch on what ESA does in terms of R&D and innovation and how we evaluate the feasibility of a mission or activity. But of course, the main focus will be on how the work is done and the people we work with. Joining me today are Ilaria Roma, Head of the ESA Concurrent Design Facility.
Good afternoon.
Domenico Mignolo, Head of the Ground Segment Section, Telecommunication Technologies and Products Division. And from the UK, Amanda Regan, former head of the Phi-Lab Investment Office.
Hi, good afternoon.
Before we start, I'd just like to remind our viewers to put their questions in the YouTube chat, if you would like them to be answered by the panel during the session. Obviously, we'll try to answer as many as we can live during the discussions. My colleagues, Lorraine, Nuria, and Miriam, will be answering them behind the scenes. But please note that we're focusing today on life and work at ESA. We're not going to go into deep technical detail. There are other fora for that, and such questions will be answered offline. So let's get started. So Ilaria, first question for you. Perhaps you'd like to give us an insight into what the Concurrent Design Facility does and what it is.
Yeah, Concurrent Design Facility, CDF. Perhaps you have, let's say, browsed in the website, because I'm aware that there were some links in the ESA Career website. It's an integrated design environment, and what does it mean? It's a place in which we have some ingredients which are based on people and tools, and all these ingredients are put together to perform activities with the concurrent engineering methodology, from designing mission, but also to other sort of activities which can be brainstorms, or can be technology assessments, or can be validation exercises. So many things characterized by the multidisciplinary aspects. So we put together people, brains, and it's the typical place in which 1 + 1 is bigger than 2, I would say.
So concurrent engineering is when everybody is together in the same room, putting their inputs in together to come to a
Correct.
good
It's really being collocated at the same time, the same place, which, during the COVID became a little bit less evident because we were also connected, let's say, from our homes, from our kitchens and studios at home, but really at the same time. So in the past, each assessment would be, each study, each activity would be performed in isolation. Each of us would go to his own office and make some analysis and simulation and computation, while with the concurrent engineering, the specialty is that we are all there and we perform online real-time analysis. We discuss in a lively manner so that we can immediately spot some criticalities, but also we can trigger each other's ideas and to make it faster and more efficient, I would say.
Well, we know from the track record that it is a much faster and more efficient way of working, indeed.
True. We have studied that, let's say, we have a factor 4 reduction in time with respect to classical methodologies. And of course, this depends also on the nature of the activity, because we, in CDF, we perform studies, feasibility assessments of future missions, but then we can indeed have several types of activities, and where we are very trained, which is new mission design, we have experienced this factor for reduction in time. Of course, we are open to many applications. Every person actually can bring a new application into the room, and of course the more innovation we have in front, and the less this reduction becomes in place, because we have to invent, but we more or less we can quantify this let's say this factor 4. Also, we can base it on a number of studies, which nowadays, after almost 25 years of usage of CDF, it's more than 300 studies. We compared the studies with the past mission assessment, which were performed without concurrent engineering, and this is, let's say, the outcome. And yeah, so this is what we are doing.
That's great, thank you. Perhaps turn to you now, Domenico. So you're involved in the ARTIST program, which focuses on R&D for telecommunications. Perhaps you could tell us a little bit more about that and your role in the program.
Yeah, our mission is to support the satellite communication stakeholders to develop new technologies, products, services in the commercial market across different market segments. And this would translate into a socioeconomic impact on our ESA member states, because we with the competitiveness of industry, obviously, then we support the creation of highly skilled jobs, which is exactly why we are here today. And at the same time, we address citizen needs. So we cover many areas where citizen needs space and services from space. And the impact is also growth of the industrial footprint in Europe and a spin-off of technology into other domains or spin-in from other domains into the space technology. All this contributes basically to create innovation, to create disruptive solutions for the commercial, but also for the institutional market. And if we think about many years ago, we started the satellite communication services with the broadcasting, so with the entertainment part of it, because it was the way to communicate to people and to broadcast video. Today, we span across many market segments. So when we think about you want to have connectivity on a board of a plane, then satellite is obviously the way to do it, on a ship, on a train. And at the same time, there are situations in which there is a crisis where you need to develop a new telecommunication infrastructure, and space can still be valuable. So there are many segments where what we do contributes not only to develop new technologies and products, but also has an impact on the society. And this is very stimulating to work, because you feel that your mandate has an impact across the world around you. And still, I work in ESA since 20 years, and I feel still very passionate from what I'm doing, and really this is an important aspect, stimulate to work for ESA after so many years.
That sounds great, Domenico. And
yeah.
Can you name a couple of key technologies that you're working on at the moment, or the teams are working on, which are new, particularly innovative?
Yeah, without entering into the in depth, but certainly there are key technologies, like for instance, we call it flat antenna, so that you can have it on the roof of your car, on an airplane, to provide connectivity anywhere, anytime, basically. We have also the emergence now of the constellations, where are many satellites floating in low Earth orbit and delivering a lot of services, and for which you need several technologies on ground and in space. And we see also that in space we are adopting more and more technologies like artificial intelligence for resource management, automation, the usage of cloud, onboard processing, because data is the oil that we have today in the society, and we need to deliver a large amount of data, but also to extract value from data. So all the technology supporting the delivery, the exchange of data, but also the, let's say, the extrapolation of value from data to deliver new services on the market is what is today, let's say, of high interest in the commercial market.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. So, Amanda, moving on to you now. You're the former head of Invest for the Phi-Lab. So, Phi-Lab brings a number of new elements into ESA. So, what can you tell us about Phi-Lab and the role that you were playing in your job as head of Invest?
Yeah, so the idea of the Phi-Lab was really created around 2017 to leverage Europe in this new space environment. And there is an absolute perfect storm in Earth observation right now, with a lot of different elements crashing into each other. So we have more Earth observation data coming in. We have Copernicus providing long-term systematic data. We have technology per cubic meter of satellites just exploding, which is leading to an economies of scale, which we haven't seen before. Coupled to that, we've got a lot of information concepts like cloud computing, artificial intelligence, quantum computing, blockchain. All of these things are crashing into Earth observation right now. And it's really, there is also an interest of distributed systems over centralized systems that we didn't have 5 or 10 years ago. And in fact, there is a change in mindset in terms of psychology. We have a generation of people now that don't know life without the internet. So there is a certain trust in the crowd that we didn't have before. And all of this is bringing in new money, new thinking, new business models, and new people. It's making it so that Earth observation is becoming more commercially credible. And so the Phi-Lab was really born in 2017 to try and leverage research on one side, which is something that Europe does extraordinarily well, and on the other side to try and leverage commercial opportunities for different companies in Europe. So in Phi-Lab, we have 2 offices, Explore, which focuses on research topics, and then we have the Invest office, which basically tries to leverage commercial opportunities. And we have a 105 million euro program, which I was managing, called InCubed, which the longhand is investing in industrial innovation, so InCubed. And the whole idea really was to be able to connect the research concepts, move it through the Phi-Lab in a kind of a pipeline, and then any type of research opportunities with a commercial focus or interest or enabling function, we can then move into the Invest office and really try and strengthen the European point of view, if you like, because this is an international overall market. So that's really what the Phi-Lab is all about. So we're focusing on things like data analytics, artificial intelligence, blockchain, quantum computing, distributed systems, this kind of thing.
Thank you. So, and I understand you're moving on to some new challenges in your career. So what do you feel that ESA has contributed towards helping you prepare for these new challenges?
Well, I have worked for ESA for exactly 20 years, and working at ESA has given me some fantastic opportunities and also some fantastic experiences that I don't think I could have got any other way. I mean, I've worked on projects that are in space right now. I've had projects that have been launched on the shuttle. I've worked with NASA and many different space agencies. I've also, in my work at InCubed, I've been working with entrepreneurs and really trying to develop commercially focused concepts. And I am moving on. I'm stepping down after 4 years of the being InCubed program manager. I'm going to be setting up my own business. I've caught the entrepreneurial bug, if you like, and I'm going to be developing my own CV writing and career coaching development, and also becoming a professional speaker as well. Now, both of these things wouldn't have been possible without my experience at ESA. Being able to present concepts and talk to people on national, European and international level. I've also built my own team as well across Europe, seeing hundreds of CVs every year and interviewing scores and scores of people. I know what I'm looking for. So for me, you know, it was absolutely an invaluable experience to be working at European and international level, and as you say, I'm now moving on to a new chapter, But standing on the shoulders of giants, I couldn't have done that without being working at ESA for 20 years. So yeah, that would be my answer, Lucy.
Thank you very much, Amanda. Amazing to hear all of this and what you're going to be doing, and we wish you all the greatest of success.
Thanks.
So, thank you. So coming back to you, Ilaria, the Concurrent Design Facility plays a very specific role in the very early stages of ESA projects and activities. Perhaps you could describe that a little bit for us.
Yeah, sure. And in fact, the Concurrent Design Facility is a little bit of place where new missions are born. And I'm very glad that Amanda started mentioning this a key element of the people, because it's true that designing a mission is something technical and something super, let's say engineering focused, but this is done with people. And I think the accent also of this special week is on people. And the element of the, let's say, seniority and experience of people is key in this preparation of the future mission. Because you can imagine, as I was mentioning, that CDF is a small enterprise in which customers, which are ESA directorates, come to us with the need of a new mission, of a future mission, which can be a satellite to observe the Earth, or a scientific mission to a faraway planet, or a new launcher, for example. And we put together this team, which is a mix of technical expertise, but also degrees of seniority and expertise. So we need the creativity of young people and fresh minds, I would say, but also the experience of people having supported activities within ESA or within industry for a long time, so that in this, let's say, endeavor, we can mix the two elements and balance the two elements to try to sketch concepts of, let's see, these future missions that ESA wants to target. And why this is important in the early phases? Because, of course, in the early phases, we can dare to invent and to create, because it's mostly something that happens on models. I should say on paper, but it's not on paper anymore, because the new technologies are going somewhere else. But yeah, it's still something that you can easily change and adapt without big cost impacts, of course, when you start buying hardware and really elements and pieces of your spacecraft. This is not possible anymore. So this is something that happens in this co-located environment that we were mentioning, in fact. And so we have this multidisciplinary team that puts together a concept, and there's like a sort of director of the orchestra of these experts, which is the team leader, that tries to harmonize the contribution of the team members into an harmonized, indeed, concept and, let's say, description of this mission, going from the functional elements to the really the products that we are putting together. And one specialty is that the customer of this mission, so the requester of this mission, is part of the team. So while the team designs and has these plenary discussions and debates, the customer can have a voice, so can say, okay, yes, we are targeting what I had in mind, or we are going off-site, so we have to readjust. So this is very dynamic and lively. It's a very exciting environment. I really have some enthusiasm for it.
I can see that, Ilaria, you really do. Just remind us very quickly, how many studies did you say the CDF has now carried out since its conception?
Roughly 300. 300. It's a little bit more, but in 23 years.
That's pretty good track record. Thank you. I'd like to go back to Amanda, because you've been talking about some of your stakeholders and the internal customers. Amanda, to you, what would you say are your or the main stakeholders for the Phi-Lab, and it has a very specific focus on strengthening the competitiveness of the European Earth observation, industrial and research sectors. So perhaps you could elaborate a little bit more on that.
Yeah, so we're really there to try and strengthen European capability in new technologies, particularly in new space. I mean, our overall stakeholders are the European taxpayer. I mean, we're here to try and stimulate and develop the commercial Earth observation overall market, but also the European capability as well. So I think, first of all, we're doing everything to try and strengthen the return on investment of European taxpayers' money. That's the first thing. On a day-to-day basis, our stakeholders, I used to call them the Holy Trinity of Phi-Lab. So we would have the companies who would come to us with a particular idea to exploit a commercial opportunity. We would have the delegations or the national governments that will have subscribed to InCubed, who would put money also in. So they're backing the development with the company. The company put money in, and also the national delegation or the government put money in. So they're de-risking the overall activity. And then the third one is also ESA. So we have ESA, the company, and the national delegation. Those are the three that we're literally talking to countries on a daily basis to try and maximize their national ecosystem and also capability. We're also talking with different areas of ESA as well. We have a new commercialization department, and we're working really a lot with them. We're developing a Phi-Lab net, for example, which would be across Europe, which we're starting to roll out. And also we're talking with the European Commission. They have a thing called Cassini, which is also there to help entrepreneurs and commercial EO. So the key thing is to try and make the pathway for European entrepreneurs as easy as possible, to try and not just get financial support, but also Earth observation, ESA technical know-how, as well as programmatic support as well. So yes, I would say that I also agree with Ilaria that the key thing is people. So in the Phi-Lab, we also have opportunities for people to come and spend a couple of days, a couple of weeks, a couple of years in the Phi-Lab. You know, it's a little bit like a river. In order to keep fresh, you have to keep moving. So we have opportunities for research fellowships, for short-term internships. We're always looking for people with a commercial viewpoint to come and work with InCubed, for example, young graduate trainees. You know, we're looking to always refresh the team, because it's very difficult to do innovation with the same set of people day in, day out. We need fresh input. So yeah, in terms of stakeholders, the bottom line is, as Ilaria said, people. But the key thing is to build up these relationships, and the bottom line is the European taxpayer.
Thank you, Amanda. So we're back to people, we're back to careers, we're back to opportunities, and maybe look at it from a different perspective now, from Artes and you, Domenico. So having listened to what our colleagues have shared with us now, what would you say are the inputs from the Artes program, the perspective on that side, from the technological development for the telecommunications area, and the impact or the benefits for the end users?
Yeah, that's very, very interesting question. And actually, we share with Earth observation, with what we said, what Amanda said, the same approach in the sense that is always in terms of stakeholders, ESA, the member states, industry, and this is, let's say, obviously can be seen as a customers but also partners. But we don't have to forget we do something for the society and for the citizens. And I think an important role of ESA, and one of our added value, is the possibility to connect to connect people, to connect institutions, and to connect citizens through the value chain, let's say. So what we normally do in telecommunication, we look certainly at what is the roadmap of industry to develop their product, but we also engage with the end users to understand what are their needs and to see how we can have the technology and the user needs to converge to then stimulate the future developments of technology, application, and then this will contribute not only to the growth of ESA member states industry, but also to a better society, I would say. So we certainly engage with institutions. We work also with the European Commission. We work with other entities for which space is an important asset to deliver services to their users. So we are commercially driven directorate, and Artes commercial market is in the DNA of Artes. So we always look at the market, the business case of industry coming to us and looking for funding. And an important, certainly we share the same conclusion of Amanda and Ilaria, that people is important. It's not only the industry, they come to us because of the funding that we have, but because of the technical excellence of our people and the possibility that we have to connect. So our role of facilitators, let's say. And in terms of technology, we are not, I would say, we are not isolated. We are not isolated within ESA and outside ESA. We work together. We are today conceiving multi-domain program in ESA for the next ministerial, where Earth observation, telecommunication, navigation, science, we work together to define programs with different element of each of this domain, but contributing to the same mission, deliver new services and to the end users, but also with the terrestrial, what we call terrestrial, sorry, we are in space, this terrestrial world. We are now very active, for instance, 5G, the technology developed. We will try in the future to integrate the 5G space and ground together with the optical technology, security. These are the three strategic pillars that today we develop across Artes. And we do this together with the different stakeholders. But also, I would say, we try to link the suppliers with the market verticals. So we establish a partnership because it's important then to connect, to make sure that our industry deliver the products which are needed by the different market verticals.
Well, thank you for that illuminating insight into the artist program and your connections, the people, the networks, the connections it's all coming down to, which takes me rather nicely into this next part of the discussion, where I'm actually going to ask you all for some more personal insights. And perhaps I can start with you, Domenico, is what brought you to ESA? What led you? What was the path you took to get to ESA?
Yeah, first of all, I was very young, so relatively young. 20 years ago, I was working for industry. So I had, let's say, the view from the other side of the fence, so from the industrial point of view. And I've been always fascinated to work for ESA because of the possibility that ESA opens to the career of people from, let's say, the possibility to work in different domains, but also to have an overview of all the technology developments going across Europe and across the different markets. And I have to say, after 20 years, I'm still, as I said before, I have a passion for my job. I come very happy every day to work and to work with the colleagues with a very good vibe. I have to say that there is in ESA across all the ESA centers. But there are, I think, when you start your career, you have to think about what drives you, and then you need to find what the job fitting, what match your drives. And my drives has always been innovation, technical excellence, and teamwork. And I have to say that after 20 years, I'm still here because I still fulfill my drives. So that's all.
That's very important. But thank you for sharing this. So, Ilaria, perhaps you'd like to say a few words about how you came to ESA.
Well, it's I can a bit echo the words of Domenico, and I'm here since 15 years, and I came as a young graduate trainee after, let's say, thesis on the Concurrent Design Facility. I was exchanging some chats before the event with Domenico, and I was mentioning, you know, the CDF brought me to CDF, and actually, between that parenthesis and the work at ESA, I had started working for in the aeronautics sector, so in industry, but it was very short because then when the YGT, the young graduate opportunity, opened up, for me, it was such a big dream that I dropped everything to join this place. And I can only say, I can only confirm this enthusiastic feeling of working in this team environment, which is very inclusive, very diverse, very, let's say, safe. We can innovate because we are given the privilege of feeling safe in this place. This is my experience, at least, and I think it's the one for most of us. And whenever, of course, it's not only an easy and nice, let's say, work, because we also have very stressful period. We have difficult challenges. We are also under pressure. But this team spirit and this nice environment that makes everything very rewarding, and so really worth it to be done.
Thank you, Ilaria. So I'd like to come back to Amanda and perhaps ask you to share how you came to ESA and your path to ESA.
Yeah, sure. Well, actually, I was asked to give a TEDx talk on this exact subject. So if people want to know more details about that, type in my name in TEDx and they'll find it. But I mean, basically, I wanted to work in the space domain since I was 12. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I didn't have the right subjects. I went to an absolutely terrible school, and I could only get a grade C at in mathematics. Couldn't get advanced mathematics, had to fight my way through this. Managed to find a sixth form college before university who would give me extra maths tuition at lunch times. Managed to get my qualifications to get to university, and was able to get onto a foundation year rather than a normal straightforward engineering degree. But there I realized that actually mathematics was one of my strongest subjects. So it's one of my passions, and that's really where I started with the CVs, was that how to shape a CV when you don't have the grades or the topics or the subjects that you need. You know, what do you need to put on a CV for that? And that's really where this journey started. So I did a general engineering degree as an undergrad, and then I was given the opportunity to go to the University of Texas at Austin for my master's and studied space mission design and planning. And then a couple of years back in the UK, working for a consultancy company. And then, like Ilaria, I was a YGT. And I started in 2002 as a YGT. And this was really, I was only supposed to be at ESA for 1 year. And but 1 year turned into 2 years. You know, I've never, ever been bored. It's been a real privilege. Because as Domenico said, you know, you get an overview of everything. You're not just working in an office with one type of nationality in one country. At the space agency, you're working on a different level. You're working with different nationalities, different languages, different perspectives. So yeah, this is how I got to ESA. And as I say, I've been working 20 years at ESA, and will be moving on. But it's been a fantastic springboard.
That's great to hear, Amanda. Thank you for sharing that. Coming back a little bit to your current role at ESA, before you move on, you followed a number of steps to come to where you are. What would you say that you particularly liked about that particular role, and what were the main challenges?
There were many things that I really enjoyed. I mean, my last role, first of all, I spent 13 years working in Earth observation future missions, developing Earth observation missions, which was a fantastic experience. And then moving to Italy and managing my own 105 million euro commercially focused development program in Cubed. I mean, this is good stuff. And the thing that I really liked was I was given a lot of freedom to be able to develop the program. I basically treated it like a startup, recruiting my own team and developing with the different delegations, the different companies, the different governments, how we're going to do this. We had 18 countries that were subscribed to InCubed. And so one of the challenges was it was like playing 18-dimensional chess. So everything that we had to do, we have to check with, something that happens in Spain is going to affect something that happens in Romania. Something that happens in the Netherlands is going to we're going to have to implement it in the UK. How does that actually work? And that was quite a challenge because the countries are not homogeneous. There's very specific things going on in each country. So I would say that's one of the biggest challenges, but it was also one of the biggest things that we were proud of because, we've in the beginning, there were 13 countries subscribed. Now there's 18, and we've got a big meeting at the end of the year called the ESA Ministerial, and we're hoping that more countries will join as well. So the opportunity to be able to talk to governments, to be able to, have a meeting with the Irish delegation, and then you move to the Estonians, and then to the Dutch, and then to the Greeks, all in one morning. When I was working in the UK, this didn't happen. So these are the kind of things that I really, really enjoyed. And my philosophy is with each challenge is also an opportunity. So challenges are something that are quite positive things in my book.
Thank you. You've mentioned a couple of times that you built up your own team. When building up your own team, what were you looking for, typically in terms of background and personality?
Yeah, so I had a very specific profile in mind. So InCubed, investing in industrial innovation, this was a brand new entrepreneurial focused program that companies could come to us with anything that was along the Earth observation value chain. So it could be they wanted help to develop a satellite. It could be an optical modem. It could be a web platform. It could be an app. And basically, I wanted people in my team that no matter what I threw at them, they would run with it. So I wasn't looking for really hyper specialized or hyper specialists. So, somebody that is really focused on sea ice characterization, but wouldn't be able to deal with, developing a thermal infrared satellite. They wouldn't be happy in InCubed. So all of my team, and there's 8 of them now, they all have a really fantastic mindset of the completely open. And so if it's synthetic aperture radar, they run with it. If it's optical, they run with it. If it's an app, if it's quantum computing, if it's blockchain, they're all about it. They just eat it up. And they're really happy with this kind of uncertainty, which is not everybody's cup of tea. But they're able to be flexible in this sense. So this was something that I was really, really looking for. And the other thing as well was that I wanted each of them to be able to complement each other. So we have a nice mix of people that are good with the satellite development side, but also on the downstream data side as well, so that everybody can kind of work together. And so this was really important when I was recruiting my own team, to have generalists, but also ones that are really focused on innovation and kind of wanting to break things as well is another thing, because with innovation, you know, you're not just on the leading edge, you're often on the bleeding edge, right? So having that kind of mindset, you really do need to be comfortable with the uncomfortable, and that's really not everybody's thing. And so when these people came to me, I would just absolutely grab them in interviews. So, and you can see them within a few minutes.
Thank you. But clearly, there's a wide range of jobs and personalities at ESA is huge. We've been talking a lot about the diversity working at ESA, and thank you for sharing that aspect of it. So perhaps I could ask you, Ilaria, in terms of the team that you manage in the CDF and the studies and activities that you've done there, perhaps you'd like to share an anecdote with us about a particular challenge that you and your team faced and how they pulled together to solve it.
Well, I'm together with the team since 15 years. We have had many of those, even very funny ones, but I can probably talk about one which is very new and I think where many people can recognize into. During the COVID, the pandemic, during this isolation and difficult period, we have onboarded more than 10 new people, and because of combination of increased requests, retirement, and this made, let's say, our job very, very challenging because of the onboarding process itself. And it was very nice to see the people, so the team, without intervention from myself, putting together some initiative and creating, thanks to the technology that we have, a shared environment with some, let's say, checklist guidelines for onboarding of newcomers, and we set up some digital social events periodically during the course of the month, and in order to strengthen the relationship that unfortunately we could not, let's say, build every day in our office work. And this was felt very special because in ESA in general, but in our team in particular, teamwork is essential, is really key. Our job is really in the team. And this was a very nice let's say, achievement, which I'm happy about.
And now that we're coming back on site and have been for some time now, and hopefully this will continue, it must make it a lot easier now with the, how can I say, sometimes unplanned interactions that you have.
Now I can only say it can only get better because, yeah, we have this serendipity interaction, we have this passing by offices, this energy that you really feel in the corridor. We are a huge team. We are 30 in the section, in the concurrent, in the systems and concurrent engineering section, and I'm happy to say that even after these 2 years of pandemic, there's this willingness to help each other, this collaboration spirit, this really collaboration at all dimensions, like for newcomers, for people that are new to experiences, even if they are there since many years, and it's a very nice environment. So I'm happy to be there, and I hope to inspire also many people to join.
Domenico, thank you, Ilaria. So turning to you now, we've heard about Ilaria's team environment, we've heard about Amanda's team environment, and perhaps you'd like to share a little bit about your team environment, because you manage a team too, right?
Yes, correct. Yeah, we have, let's say, a very, very dynamic team, because we support industry for, let's say, our main developments, which are for ground segment, but at the same time we support other teams within the directorate for their program. And there are opportunities to learn and to exchange also with other teams across the organization. So it's a very dynamic environment where the culture of the team is first to enjoy what we do on a daily basis and to get connected with other people within the organization and within ESA and also with industry. But at the same time, we want to grow together as a team, but also from a personal point of view. So we have a very good, let's say, spirit with very open, communication to allow a professional growth, but also a growth of the team. We've been growing a lot in the last few years, thanks to this mindset. Ilaria was talking about, and Amanda, about mindset. And mindset is very important, that everyone is aligned towards what is the mission of the organization and the mandate, the vision that you have for the future for the organization, but also the personal aspiration. And I have to say that at ESA, this is, very well today managed, in the sense there is a lot of attention to the personal growth, to the professional aspiration, and an important point that we offer a very good set of trainings. And every year, because how do you innovate? How do you reach technical excellence? And it's only through learning, exchanging with other colleagues, so the teamwork. And ESA offers this possibility to learn and to grow. And there is a very good training program. I enjoy myself every year with very interesting courses and inside and also outside ESA. So joining ESA means also having the potential to grow as a professional.
Thank you. So we're obviously been doing quite a bit of recruitment, and we're continuing to do so. The head of the HR department, Xavier Ambert, said yesterday that last year we had more than 180 vacancies in 1 year, which was a record. We haven't had that many for a very long time, and we will continue to do so. So for the people listening, is there one thing you could share with us that you wish you had known about ESA before you joined ESA?
Certainly, I think, as I said before, it's important to understand the vision. When you apply to a job, it's always important to understand where that organization is willing to go, and the mandate of the organization, the mission of the organization per se. So it's important also to understand the working environment. So, because sometimes not necessarily it match with your own drives. And this is what I said before, it's important that you have this job fitting. Because maybe you are an hands-on person, and then the job you have to do is completely different, and then there are expectations which are not fulfilled from both sides, and then that's not good. So I think it's always important to investigate the activities of the organization, of that particular group, and learn also, and always check whether this is in line with your professional aspiration, but also with your background or the things that you want to learn and that you want to expand. That's up, because this in the end is what motivates you on your daily job, what you do, that you value what you do in your career. So I would recommend to have really to read the vacancy, to to be prepared with let's say the background knowledge that you need, but also to understand the overall perspective and the big picture, I would say, also is important.
Thank you very much. We're moving into the question and answer session in a moment. Yeah. I just have a quick question for Amanda. From your perspective, Amanda, do you have any words of advice for people wishing to join ESA?
Yeah, I mean, if you get the opportunity, do it. That would be the first thing to say. Working at European and international level, it is a different level. And I mean, the career coaching students that I work with, it's a mindset. So there are people that are quite happy to stay in a job in their own country, working in their own language, and that's perfectly fine. But for other guys that may be watching this, that you're actually thinking that you want something else, then I think that working at European and international level is something that would really appeal. So yeah, I think it's yourself, if you've got that splinter in your brain that you're actually looking for a different level, and if that's you, then I would apply to ESA.
Thank you for sharing that. So now I'm looking at Miriam, who will share with us questions that have been coming in online and YouTube.
So yeah, we received quite a few questions. A lot were very similar. So I'll start with a sort of general question that should cover a lot of the questions that were similarly asked. There's a lot of people that have experience outside of the space industry, and they're looking for a bit of advice on how to join ESA without a background in space. Do you have any advice for them?
Thank you. Can I start with you, Domenico?
Yeah. So, as I said before, we are not isolated. So, and we are not isolated. And also, as Amanda said, we are also looking for a certain attitude. Okay. So these are things also that we look. Is important, therefore, to have this, let's say, this ingredient. But we also value ideas and background coming from other sectors. Okay. Certainly, then there are certain requirements to join ESA to have a certain background competence. So I would suggest there are trainings offered across Europe. I mean, for satellite communication, and I'm sure in other sectors as well. So that could complement the background from a knowledge point of view, and certainly this will be valued. Then we have also mechanism to incentivize younger professional, for which there is a need of limited experience, let's say, and that they can join ESA and then learn more about space, grow the background. Yeah, in a nutshell, not coming from space is not perceived necessarily as a no-go. That's my message.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Miriam, are there any more?
Yeah, actually, and this is kind of a follow-up. If someone doesn't have a STEM background, can they join ESA?
Amanda, perhaps we could give that one to you?
Yeah, so I mean, in the Phi-Lab, we're always looking for crossovers, because, we think that innovation comes from the interfaces where, worlds collide. So, for example, we've had one activity that's looked at archaeology and Earth observation data, for example. So I think my key piece of advice is don't focus on what you don't have, focus on what you do have, what you can offer. You obviously are applying to the European Space Agency, so you have to show that you've done some homework, that you can name a couple of satellites, that you know where you're going. I mean, you have to show that you're at least on the starting blocks, but you have to show the kind of thing that you could bring to the table. So, for example, in InCubed, we're looking for commercially viable activity. So each one of these developments has a business plan. So I was looking in my team for people that had a business background, innovation, and this kind of thing. And so not all of them have got an engineering background, for example. Some of them have got much more business or an innovation background. And I think the key thing is to really, it's not about what ESA can offer you when you're applying for a job. It's more, what can you offer ESA. This is how you should approach the application. So, you know, what is ESA missing? You know, we have lots and lots of technical specialists, but for example, in Earth observation, we have new space where we have commercial actors that are coming in. So we need people that can really understand markets and business and this kind of thing. So it's not necessarily STEM, but it's more business oriented. So I would suggest that you really try and position yourself into the gaps where it's only you would be able to be given the position over somebody else, for example.
Thank you. So I think in a nutshell, it really comes down to looking at the requirements of the position that we have. We have a lot of vacancies in engineering and in science, but we also have others, as we've been hearing now from my colleagues today, in other domains. Yeah. So it's very good to look at that. So I'm going to wrap up now, and by doing so, I'd like to thank everybody. I'd like to thank my colleagues, Domenico, Ilaria, and Amanda, for joining me here today. I'd like to thank our moderators in the background, Miriam, Lorraine, and Nuria. And I'd like to thank you, the audience, for joining us this afternoon. Don't forget to watch our other sessions. They are video on demand if you've missed them. Next up, quickly, is launching, operating, and managing our missions. And you can find all the links for the various sessions on the Careers website, as well as a lot of other information about working at ESA. So hope to see you soon. Thank you.